Good evening, Dungeon Masters. I'm Baron. So you've spent the last 3 months building out lore, factions, and history for your game world, created a few dungeons, drew some town maps, the whole shebang. But when it comes time for your first session and you introduce some lore to your players, hoping they'll engage with it, they seem totally uninterested and perhaps even wander off the path to go do their own thing. So what's actually going on here, and how do we solve this problem? In a nutshell, players don't have a reason to emotionally invest in our world building, and even if they wanted to, our world building remains largely hidden from their view. Players can only engage with the portions that we, as dungeon masters, illuminate during a game session. Moreover, they can only interact with the parts of the world that their characters are in close proximity to. Even more limiting, players usually have a deeper connection to their own character's backstory than our own world building, because they've created their characters and are eager to see how their backstories fit into the campaign. Needless to say, overwhelming our players with excessive lore akin to an overenthusiastic 9-year-old recounting an incoherent list of Star Wars facts will likely bore and confuse your players. So while designing intricately woven world building is crucial, that world building should only be relevant to how characters engage with the world, and for added depth, how that world building is further connected to the characters' backstories. To convey our world building within the context of the player characters, it's essential to understand how our world is influenced by the history we design, and more specifically, how the various factions and NPCs react to those historical influences. As players listen to the tavern gossip or engage with shopkeepers, this lore should naturally weave into their character experiences. Moreover, any world building elements players encounter should also tie back to the various quests or the broader story the players are navigating. Building worlds in this way effectively embodies the literary principle of Chekhov's gun. If a rifle is mounted over the fireplace at the beginning of a story, it must be shot by the end of the story. In other words, if you can't connect your world building to the various quests your players are engaging with, you likely don't need to waste your time on them. To do this effectively, consider the 3 M's of adventure context: what happened a millennium ago, what happened months ago, and what happened moments ago. This process will not only set the stage for your players to sandbox themselves in, but will also dictate how world inhabitants respond to your world's history chain of events. For instance, imagine that a millennium ago, a legendary hero vanquished a fearsome demon and their interplanar army, and then hid the magic sword he wielded to do so somewhere in the mountains, ensuring the sword's powerful magic was beyond mortal reach. However, months ago, a demon cult discovered the sword's location and began devising a plan to excavate it. Therefore, moments ago, the cult dispatched its members to gather supplies for the excavation and find the items needed for a ritual to resurrect the demon, one of those items being the sword itself. So when crafting quests, think about how each faction, NPC, or even the environment itself reacts to these events. Observations like dark clouds loom over the Steel-Tooth Mountains, where the arcane dig site is located, the temple library faces an infernal enchantment preventing the scribes from working, where the books detailing the required ritual have been stolen, or the mining camp's equipment has been ransacked because the cultists stole it to excavate the dig site, are all plot points sprinkled around your sandbox which ensure that every encounter your players face is contextual, all while guiding your players from your world building toward your world's central tension. Do you need an efficient way to organize all of this contextual world building you're doing? Look no further than this video's sponsor, World Anvil, the ultimate world building toolkit designed for dungeon masters. World Anvil makes it easy to organize your campaign with interactive maps, engaging character profiles, detailed timelines, custom calendars, expansive lore, and more. Bring your world to life for your players with World Anvil's robust world building features. Build immersive and interactive maps to help help visualize locations, craft compelling backstories for NPCs that your players will love, establish believable history with timelines and events. World Anvil will help you plan, play, and present legendary adventures as the ultimate dungeon master. Unleash your creativity with family trees, languages, magic systems, and anything else you can imagine. Level up your game master skills and world building with World Anvil. To check out World Anvil today, use the link in the description below and use the coupon code MASTER when you sign up to get 40% off. Thanks World Anvil for sponsoring this video. To truly engage players in our world building, however, the easiest win is to intertwine their character's backstory with the lore of the game world itself. In this way, as they interact with the game world, they'll unravel not only the world's plots, but also delve into their own character's narrative. That being said, while players are at liberty to craft elaborate backstories for their own amusement, as a dungeon master, you only need two things to intertwine each character's story into the game's fabric: a brief 100-word synopsis of their character's life up to the point at the beginning of the adventure, as well as an unresolved question or problem from that character's backstory. Specifically, a character without these lingering issues has no room for growth. This is why pre-Kryptonite Superman was arguably one of the most boring comic characters of his time. Anyways, equipped with a brief backstory, you can begin developing links between a character's unresolved issues and your world building. As an unlikely example of good game design, the 5th edition's Sage character background exemplifies this approach brilliantly. One of the equipment items this background grants is a letter from a deceased colleague that poses an unanswered question. This letter not only offers the opportunity to hand out a tangible prop at the table, which always creates an immersive experience, but also establishes a connection between the player's character and the game world. As another example, perhaps a character backstory details a missing childhood friend named Willem, who vanished after a bandit raid some 12 years ago. So what happened to Willem? Was he kidnapped and sold into slavery, or did he join the bandits and rise through their ranks to become the bandit king? This unresolved question teems with potential plot lines. If your world building requires the actions of a bandit faction, Willem could be those bandits' leader. Later on, when players defeat some of these bandits, the players might find letters from Willem stuffed into those defeated bandit pockets, guiding the players not just toward the completion of a quest, but also toward resolving a character's personal backstory. When the world building in your campaign is intricately woven in this manner, players will naturally become deeply engaged. They'll be eager to uncover both the character's past and its connections to the ongoing events in your game world. If you'd like to help me make more content like this in the future, please consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a channel member. Thanks for watching, Dungeon Masters, and until next time, good night.